This is the new Zhiyun Weebill 3 gimbal, and I've never used the word spectacular to describe a gimbal before, but this gimbal right here is definitely spectacular. Let me tell you more about it. Now with this gimbal, I feel like Zhiyun has rethought their whole entire design for gimbals. For one thing, they added a better battery pack utilizing 3 18650 batteries. They rated this gimbal to have a 21-hour battery life, but realistically, you're gonna get about 13 to 15 hours fully rigged. This gimbal just feels so great in my hands. And before we get down to the actual ergonomics, let me show you how to set it up. I actually used this gimbal on a shoot with Rizvani motors, and it performed phenomenally, and it performed better than the Weebill 2. The Weebill 2 was always a good gimbal, but I always found myself going back to the Crane 2S because it was better with pans and tilts. It was much smoother and I felt much more confident. But the Weebill 3 definitely has upgraded motors that allow me to get those smooth tilting and panning shots that I've always wanted. And if you notice, they got rid of that flip out LCD screen that we found on the Weebill 2 gimbal, and they went with a much simpler design, utilizing a built-in LCD screen which gives you all the details you need to know about the gimbal's shooting modes, battery life, and just like previous Zhiyun gimbals, we have the options to change all the motor power settings and so forth. Now what really stands out about the Weebill 3 is the ergonomics and the accessories as well. Zhiyun actually removed that little handle that we get on the Weebill 2. They removed that whole entire attachment arm and they moved it to the bottom of the gimbal. The shape of the Weebill 3 is completely different. They repositioned the battery and they repositioned the accessory ports at the bottom. We have 2 accessory ports allowing us to attach obviously 2 different accessories. We can attach a handle arm and we can attach a palm rest. Now I never thought I needed a palm rest for a gimbal until Zhiyun actually came up with this idea. The palm rest is phenomenal. It takes off all of the pressure from my forearm and it allows me to rest most of the gimbal's weight on my palm, eliminating all of that stress and fatigue away from my forearm and my shoulders, so you can shoot for a much longer period of time. So the palm rest is a great addition here, and it has a nice gel foam. It's softly padded, so it is overall very comfortable to use. Now the attachment handle that goes on the Weebill 3 is also a nice addition, but I did find myself using the palm rest a lot more. Some new additions to the Weebill 3 is a built-in microphone and a fill light offering you 1000 lumens of brightness. It also has an adjustable color temperature simply by pressing and moving the dial on the side of the gimbal. You'll notice that the positioning of the joystick has been moved. It's a much better and smoother joystick too, and they also removed the follow focus dial and moved it to the front of the gimbal as a little control wheel. Now this control wheel can be programmed to control either the roll axis of your gimbal or to control the follow focus. Don't worry, I'm going to make a separate video on how to rig up your follow focus for the Weebill 3, so make sure you're subscribed with those notifications turned on. I'm going to be doing a lot of new content and a whole new gimbal training series on the Weebill 3, so stay tuned for that too. Now really quick, when I pick up this gimbal, I just love the feel of it. I can squeeze it as hard as I want, and you're not gonna get any of that cheap plasticky creaking noises. Like, I have a really strong grip here. And if you notice, if I move the gimbal like right over here, it's all rubberized, so the grip is perfect. You can see how my hand just perfectly forms over the handle of the gimbal, and you'll notice that my forefinger perfectly moves over the control dial here. You can see how the roll axis is changing, and you'll notice that my thumb also fits perfectly over the joystick mode button and record button. And just like previous Zhiyun gimbals, you have a camera control port along with the microphone port, which will use the onboard microphone to record all of your audio. Now on to the part of the video that you've been waiting for, the test footage. I've tested out 16mm, 24, 50, and 75mm focal lengths. I didn't use any extra stabilization, so you can see how smooth the footage came out. I was extremely impressed, and the overall results were better than the Weebill 2 gimbal. Now, in my opinion, I think the biggest weakness of the Weebill 2 was the follow mode. So tilt and pan were just not working so smoothly for me, but with the Weebill 3, the pan and the tilt worked beautifully and they synchronized perfectly, and I didn't get any weird jitters. Even in awkward angles or awkward movements using the follow mode, I didn't have any issues on the Weebill 3 like I did on the Weebill 2. Now, another little cool thing that Zhiyun added to this gimbal is a magnetic multi-flathead tool located right under the quick release system. It's meant to screw on the quick release plate good and tight onto your camera. You don't want to know how many times I forgot to bring a flathead multi-tool to a shoot, or how embarrassing it is to actually use a quarter at times, or even having to ask for a quarter. Ugh. But with this thing, it will always be on your gimbal, so I love that. The overall balancing process is a breeze with the gimbal. I love the fact that they beefed up the locking mechanisms on each of the axes, so they're actual hard clicks and hard switches. You don't really have to fumble around the gimbal to lock it up tight. These new locks are a great upgrade for the Weebill 3. So the overall performance of this new upgraded Weebill 3 is great. No complaints, not even with the battery life. It will definitely last you a whole day's worth of shooting. Just make sure you balance it properly. And if you want me to release another tutorial on the Weebill 3 balancing process, let me know in the comment section below. Check out the link also in the description box if you want to know where you can get the Weebill 3. That's it for now. I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.